Okay, guys, so here we are. We're going to review for the test that we have you sixth grade class. We're going to review for your test, which is going to be tomorrow, Friday, November 2nd. And here we go. One of your questions is going to be like this. It's going to ask you which of these angles could measure 120 degrees, and it's going to give you a line, and being one line, then it's going to have another line creating an angle. Of course, we have our arrows showing that they go on forever, and you might have something like this with an A, angle D, point C, and then maybe point B. And then it's going to ask you which angle measures 120, could measure 120 degrees. Of course, you know that anything over 90 is obtuse. This is obtuse. This has to be less than 90. So if this is less than 90, this is one that has to be more than 120, right? So your guess would probably be angle ADB. You would have angle ADB as the answer for this question. Your next question is going to be something like this. It's going to give you a list of numbers like this: 437, 286, 190, and it's going to say which digit is in the hundred thousands place. Hundred thousands. Now, it's not going to be the same question tomorrow. Probably won't be hundred thousands, but make sure you know all the different places here, because tomorrow's test is going to ask you that. Question 3 says Marco correctly answered 15 of the 20 questions correctly. So 15 to 20 questions correct. What fraction of the questions did he answer correctly? So look at lesson 29 to figure that out, okay? Now we're going to move on. I'm going to clear the board here. You can stop and pause this to write this down if you need to. Going to question 4. They want you to estimate the sum of 89, 72, and 4106. Estimate the sum. So if we're going to have a sum, then you know that we're going to be adding these numbers together, right? Because an add-n plus an add-n equals a sum. Estimate the sum of 89, 72, and 4106 to the nearest thousand. That comes out of lesson 16. So review lesson 16. Make sure you understand how to do that. Next, they're going to ask you to do something like this. Take 5 squared plus the square root of 16, and it's simply going to say this. Simplify. They want you to simplify that. How would you do that? Well, hopefully you'd know you take 5 squared and get 25 plus the square root of 16 is 4, and that would equal 29, okay? Did that one for you. I'm not going to do these problems for you. I'm just going to show you what they are. You need to look and see through your lessons to know how to do them, but every now and then I'll throw one in there for you, and that's what I've decided to do right there. All right, I'm going to clear the board here on the question 6. It says, in 3 days, Juanita read 81 pages, 84 pages, and 84 pages. Now remember, that was in 3 days that she did that. What was the average number of pages she read per day? Okay, well, I know if I add this number up, okay, and whatever number I get here, divide that by 3, right, that's going to tell me how many pages per day that she wrote. And that's how we would do that problem. So, and that comes out of lesson 18, by the way, lesson 18. So if you need to, look at lesson 18 for that. This next question comes from lesson 20. What is the greatest common factor of 21 and 35? The greatest common factor, right? So you can say things like this. 1 times 21 is 21. 3 times 7 is 21. What else makes 21? That's probably about it, right? Is thinking quickly. How about this? What about 35? We can say that 5 times 7 is 35, and that's about it. So it looks like the greatest common factor is probably 7. Now check to make sure I didn't make any mistakes, but that comes from lesson 20, okay? Question 8 is going to come from lesson 33, and that's going to say 40% of the students were boys. 40% were boys, okay? What fraction of the students were boys? Well, we know that fractions are always part over the whole, right? And we know that 40% is just a fraction. 40% is the part of the whole, which is 100, because we're looking for 100%. So what fraction of the students were boys? Well, we know that 40 tenths can be reduced down to what? To 2/5, right? Divide that by 20. Divide top and bottom by 20. And we're going to wind up with 2/5. So the fraction would be 2/5 of the boys. 2/5 of, what's the question? 2/5 of the students were boys. That's the question. Okay. Now we're going to go on to question number 9. Question 9 and 10 on the sample test here. Doesn't mean it's going to be the same way, right? But simple question 9 and 10. It comes from basically lessons 26. It's asking you this: 3 3/4 plus 1 1/4. What would that equal? Well, hopefully you would know that 3 and 1 is 4, and that 3/4 and 4 1/4 is 4/4. So we have 4 plus 4/4, which is 1. 4 plus 1 equals 5. Hopefully you understand that. And then next we're going to have something like this: 5 minus 1 1/3. Okay, so look at lesson 26 and make sure you remember how to reduce this or change this around, so we can manipulate our numbers, right? Remember, it's something like 4 3/3 is the same thing as saying 5 minus 1 1/3. So we can put 4 3/3 on top, below, underneath, or above, I should say, 1 1/3, and we subtract 4 from 1 and we get 3. Our denominator stays the same. 3 minus 1 is 2, so 3 2/3 plus 1 1/3 should equal 5, right? And so 3 and 1 is 4, 2/3 and 1/3 is 3/3, which is 1. So 4 plus 1 is 5. And that's how we do that one. All right, moving on to number 11. This comes from lesson 29, and they want to know, what is the product of 1/2 and 2/3? Well, we know product means we have a factor and we're multiplying. Factor times factor equals product. So 1/2 and 1/3 is, we multiply 1 times 2 and we get 2. 2 times 3 is 6. That can be reduced down to 1/3. That comes from lesson 29, folks. So make sure you look over lesson 29 and you understand that, okay? Now we're going to be moving on here to question number 12. It's a word problem. It says school starts at 8:30 a.m. And ends at 2:45 p.m. How many hours and minutes are there from the start to the end of school? All right, so you just have to start at 8:30, count your way to 2:30, and then add 15 minutes is the easiest way to do that. That comes from lesson 32, so you look at lesson 32 and make sure you understand that concept, okay? Number 13 wants us to find the least common multiple of 3 and 6. So what are multiples of 3 and 6? Well, 3 is 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. What about 6? We have 6, 12, 18, 24. Least common multiple is going to be the 6's. So there we go. Now that comes from lesson 30. Lesson 30. So if you don't understand that, go ahead and look at lesson 30 and make sure you do. This next one is going to come from lesson 31. And lesson 31, the question is a rectangle. Going to draw a rectangle. Is 8 inches long. So 8 inches long and 6 inches wide. How many 1 square inch tiles are needed to cover this area? Okay, now we're talking about the area, not the perimeter. So we know area equals length times width. So we want to multiply 8 times 6. And when we do that, we know that 8 times 6, 8 inches times 6 inches is 48 square inches, right? So we need 48 tiles. We're going to need 48 tiles to cover the area of that floor. That comes from lesson 31. So make sure you look at that if you don't understand it. All right. Now we're going to go to question 15 on the test, which is lesson 34, and it says, which digit in 12.345 is in the hundredths place? HUNDREDTHS, hundredths place. Not hundreds, because this is ones and this is the tens, right? But this is the tenths place, this is the hundredths place, and this is the thousandths place. So hundredths, it would be the 4. Okay, hopefully you already knew that, you understood it. Next lesson question comes from lesson 35, and it says write the decimal numeral for 3 and 12 hundredths. So we have 3 and 12 hundredths. So 3 and means we're going to have a fraction, and 12 hundredths. 3 and 12 hundredths, right? There's my tenths and there's my hundredths. There's 3 and 12 hundredths. And remember, we're talking about this. 12 hundredths. Okay, that's what we're looking at. All right, great. Hey, we got a few more to go and we'll be done. And we've only taken about 11 minutes of your time tonight for this review, so you haven't spent a lot of time here. These last few are going to be simplify type questions, and this one comes from lesson 37. It wants us to add 0.3 plus 0.4 plus 0.5. Guys, this is so easy. Really? What is this going to be? 5 and 4 is 9, plus 3 is 12. Okay, we have to remember we're lining up those. When we add and subtract, we line up the decimals, remember? So here we're lining them up. 5 and 4 is 9, and 3 is 12. We have a 1 over here on this side of the decimal, so that decimal's got to come down. We bring our 1 down, and it's 1.2, right? That's how we do that. Hopefully you remember that. Now we're looking at the next question comes from lesson 38, and it's 6 plus 4.2 plus 0.36. Hey gang, same thing. We got a 6, which is really 6 point, right? We got 4.2. Remember, line those decimals up, and we got 0.36, 0.36, and then we have to add all that up, don't we? We want to add all that up, and when we add that up, listen, I'm going to put zeros here to fill everything up so I'm not confused. We have a 6, we have a 5, our decimal comes straight down, and we have a 10, 10.56. That's how we do that. Hey, we got a couple more and we're done. And this comes from lesson 37, like the problem did 2 problems ago. And we have 0.23 minus 0.19. Come on, guys, this is easy, isn't it? We borrow from the 2, make it a 1. Add that to the 13. 3 makes it a 13. It gives us a 4. Gives us a 0. The decimal comes straight down. That's all we do. We don't count decimal places. We keep a straight line, and our answer is 0.04. Hey, we're almost done. Our last question comes from lesson 39, and it wants us to take 0.4 times 1.2. Now look at, I like to do, oh, I'm sorry, I did that wrong. No, it's not. Hang on, let me erase that. Let me erase that. For this problem, anyway, it's 0.4 times 0.12. Now, look, I'm going to reverse that. I'm going to put 0.12 here and multiply that by 0.4. Now, the decimals don't have to be lined up here. Just do the math, okay? 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 0 is 0. 0 times 2 is 0. 0 times 1 is 0. 0 times 0 is 0. We bring down our numbers. We have an 8. We have a, you know what, I think I'm doing this. I have 0, 4, 8, and I have 0, 0, 0, x. That's what I have. And when I bring my answers down, this is what I got, guys. Now I count my decimal places. 1, 2, 3. You see that? 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places, and 3 decimal places to the right of the decimal. So I have to bring my answer over 1, 2, 3, and I drop that decimal right there. So my answer is going to be 0.048. That's how we do that. Hey guys, I hope that helped. I really want you to do well in tomorrow's test. Study hard. Let's get that A. And you know what? We'll see you in class.